Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode here at the Portcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us today, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. My name is Sharan Wapatukwe Piper. I am the clan mother of the Golden Hill Paugussett tribe, which is the tribal head leader. I was looked upon in grammar school at a very young age by my grandmother, who was the chiefess and clan mother. So she was the tribal head leader of the tribe before she named my father, which was her successor. So in grammar school, I was looked upon at a very young age. Someone who used to work in the state of Connecticut and state capitol and DP for Indian Affairs, who's retired now, still remembers that day where he said that he had that paperwork in his hand that they were going to appoint me my dad's successor after my grandmother and him. So as time went on and I got older, my father, who was Chief Big Eagle, passed away in 2008. He appointed me during that year, a year before that January, of the tribal head leader, clan mother, that I would succeed and lead him after his death. Due to unforeseen circumstances with state of Connecticut lawyers, tribal lawyers, and a few other situations of undisclosed reasons with the DP and interferes in the state. To my surprise, they had documents and letters from my father appointing me over 6 different times, going back as 2003.
Okay. And you have a very unique name. Is there a meaning behind your name?
Yes, Wapatukwe means white fawn.
Okay. And the title clan mother, is there a definition behind the title and the responsibilities that come along with that title?
Yeah. Long story short, it's from A through Z. It's like being the president. So you're kind of like the overseer of the tribe. Everybody comes to you for medicines, counseling, therapy, teachings. I'm supposed to keep teaching all of the history, keeping our tribal name alive. I get the last say-so, the last vote, the last signature. My nephew, Quanah Kicking Bear Piper, he's the war chief. I appointed him war chief. So he lives in our Colchester reservation with his family. And the clan mother also appoints like council or vice chair, or has the last say, so like breaks the tie. So basically, I'm just like the overseer of the whole tribe, you know, keeping all the traditions and the name and everything going and doing what I need to do as a clan mother. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a big responsibility. I wouldn't change it or trade it for anything. But like I said, long story short, it's like being the president of the United States, where you're looking over, you know, the whole thing with the Congress. So.
Okay. And so you're Afro-Indigenous.
Yes, American Indian and African American, yeah, from my dad's side. So my dad was American Indian and African American. So he was a Black Eastern Cherokee from his father's and grandfather's side, and his mom, which is Paugussett, my grandmother, Ethel.
Okay, and your tribe have 2 reservations here in Connecticut. And one is in Colchester and the other one is in Trumbull. Yeah,
Trumbull is the oldest continuing reservation since 1659.
Okay, and what's the day-to-day life and activities on these reservations?
It's still like a normal kind of day where people go to school, people go to work, but we still do prayers. There's still a spiritual side. So we still work on the land, take care of the land, say our prayers to Mother Earth. We feed the land. We do spirit plates outside. So we're leaving spirit offerings, lighting candles. So we're still, you know, collecting medicines from the woods, whatever we need it for, oils or tinctures or rubs or teas. So we're still taking care of the land and the area and basically just still living off of it. So we still have our spiritual piece, and this is an everyday thing.
Okay.
Ceremonies still take place on the reservation.
Okay. And how is your tribe educating people and making people aware of Native American tribes here in Connecticut, more specifically your tribe?
Well, there's a map dated 1625 where it has about 16 to 18 tribes, and it tells you every name of here in Connecticut. But of course, with government, you know, back in those colonial times, and they come through, they dismissed, and they just left us 5 tribes that are still residing here in Connecticut. So just besides our tribe, bringing awareness and keeping our name alive and showing our traditions, because a lot of people think that you died off in some black and white cowboy and Indian movie from, 1800s, and that's not the case. American Indians are still here. We still have 7 generations to continue on after us. In our tribe, there are women that are still giving birth to babies every year. So we will still have our 7 generations to carry on when our generation is gone. So our tribe and other tribes, especially our tribe, we still bring a lot of awareness. We have basically just our meetings where it's just in-house meetings or it's intertribal meetings. We're attending panels. I attend a lot of panels for Indigenous rights, Two Spirits, Missing Murdered Indigenous Women, speaking about our history and tribe. So basically bringing a lot of the awareness publicly and talking to other people, land acknowledgements, making appearances and going to events and just speaking. Everybody takes what we have spoken about and they bring it home to their family and they bring it home to their friends. And we even have some people who support us by writing letters to the politicians and writing letters to Washington, D.C. on our behalf. So our name is very much alive. I would say that some people, not everyone, will act like they never heard us when in fact they have.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because there seems to be a perception out there that there is a decline in Native American population in comparison to other populations. Do you think it's due to Native traditions are not being passed on to the Native youth who are losing their identity and can't identify with traditional customs?
There's 2,500 alone in New Haven of American Indians. There's plenty of American Indians besides our tribe in Trumbull, Monroe, Easton, Bridgeport. You'd be surprised. It's not just Schaghticoke and Bridgeport, Golden Hill Paugussett and Bridgeport. I know American Indians that are from Passamaquoddy tribe all the way from Maine that reside in Bridgeport. So here's the thing with that when it comes to your census. When it comes to any type of application or paperwork you fill out and it asks for your race. If we was to put American Indian, Irish, Chinese, and Black, they're gonna put all of that above, but not the American Indian down. So when you fill out your census, only put American Indian and nothing else. If you're filling out an application, only put American Indian and nothing else. Because if you put more than one race, they're not gonna put you down as American Indian. They're gonna try and dismiss you altogether. So you gotta do your census. Census is very important for them to know what race is living in that town, state, or city. That's very important. And only put that one race down because they will dismiss that. And my father, Chief Big Eagle, he taught me that all the time. Every time I would fill it out and put what I was, he would be very upset, and he explained to me over and over again not to do that. And he would always explain why. So I've passed that down and, teach that. When there's people that say that they didn't know we were around, but in the past history, I'll come across pictures where I've seen you, video, or there's letters where your name is signed on that, or an email, like those letters I said about my father appointing me, when there's someone who's on the board and committee now that acted like they didn't know anything, and I had records from 2003 and 2011 that sure enough had your name on it. So like that, they act like, so it's always good to keep those records and always have a backup and have someone that you trust with your life that nobody would ever know or think of to hold those backup records.
Okay. So it seems to be a narrative, not so much in Bridgeport, but the surrounding towns, when you hear the name Golden Hill Tribe, of they want to take our home and our property away. And how do you change that narrative?
That's a lot of the politicians who really just kind of scared people only because they did not want our tribe to achieve or to pay us back what is rightfully ours, what is rightfully belongs to us. They just come and took everything from us. It's 2023, and not just our tribe, but American Indian tribes, they're still having things taken away. We still can't have anything of our own, not even a symbol, not even a mascot, not even a name. Everything still gets continued to be taken away from. When it comes to the politicians, and they know what's rightfully ours and how much they owe us and what they owe us and what they took from us and stole from us, they don't want to admit to that. So to scare all the homeowners, they told them that we were just going to take their homes and this and that. We are not that mean and cruel. We weren't going to come to your house, knock on your door and say, okay, you got 30 days to get out. We don't care where you go. and then what? Your home is vacant for a whole year? Bears are getting in it, birds. I'm just wondering, So basically what it comes down to is we're your landlord. So you would pay us your taxes, not the town, get it, the town hall. You're paying us if we were your landlord now for your rent and your mortgage. That's how that was being placed.
Okay. Now your tribe is recognized by the state of Connecticut. Is the tribe recognized by the federal government?
No, Golden Hill Paugussett isn't, Eastern Pequot and Schaghticoke isn't, and once we were. But there's this preliminary probation period, 60-day, 90-day, we met all 7 criteria plus more. But again, it comes down to money and politics, and they just revoke it. Oh, well, you didn't have this. Okay, well, we do have that. We'll provide it. So anytime we provided anything that they asked, they went down this whole list. We provided everything. We covered all 7 criteria plus more. I think they just ran out of ideas because we were able to prove everything that they asked for, and they couldn't ask for anything more and just have all these different reasons and excuses of, oh, no, that's not right with the lineage, and that's not right with the relatives and the blood. And now, thanks to a lot of the politicians in Connecticut who wrote letters when Obama was in office, and him and Congress at the time. So if you look back from Connecticut Mirror newspaper within 2016 to 2018, and you read a lot of that on ConnecticutMirrorNewspaper.com, they ended up putting a ban, which is an actual law, that if you applied for federal recognition, you could no longer apply again. So that's kind of where they got you. So how it's a law to wear your seatbelt every day. So our tribe, and besides Eastern Pequot and Schaghticoke, we're in the process of fighting to have that ruling and that ban out. It doesn't really matter to us because I still submit and still submit and still submit, to the president, vice president, to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So, I'm still submitting and submitting and submitting, whether they have that ban in or not. Why Obama listened? I don't know, but him, the Congress, and the guy who was in charge at the time, David Bernhardt from, Bureau of Indian Affairs, who was there, David, Shaw, all of them who was there at the time. 5 days later, they ended up walking off their job and didn't come back.
So why is it important to be recognized by the federal government? How does this recognition benefit your tribe or any tribe?
It comes down to identity. So basically, if you don't have that reservation, you're nobody. They don't see you as a tribe. They don't see you as an American Indian. It's your whole identity. So with federal recognition, it's the federal government acknowledging who you are. They usually say it's the federal funding with grants, because when you apply for grants, it's more for federal tribes than it is for state. Being state tribes, you don't get nothing. There's really no access or benefits. It's very hard. State tribes are really forgotten about all the time. And it's basically in-house that has to do everything without having a state-to-state relationship and them helping, depending on what it is. If you're on a reservation, if there's a contract, there's only so much that they'll do, the Indian Affairs, DEP, or the state. They can't really do everything, especially if we're not federal or federally funded. So when it comes down to our own schooling, license plate, our language, our own medical, Indian Health Services, they call it IHS. Connecticut had one, and it used to be for federal and state. And then they just knocked out the state and only kept federal. And that was free medical, even though it was an hour drive for us from Trumbull. But it was much closer for our Colchester reservation and families that lived up there to have the free health care.
Now, how you guys are providing funding to sustain these resources?
Well, at one time we were doing tribal dues every month. Normally it's just kind of out of pocket, helping each other out. Other tribes, we will help each other out if somebody knows, if someone takes up a collection for somebody, depending on what it is, an elder needing a new furnace, or someone's trying to make it down to a very important council meeting, conference, a powwow. People kind of pitch in, basically a donation.
And what's the most concerning issue or difficult thing for the Golden Hill tribe today?
Being recognized. Our people being recognized. Trying to get everything where you feel like you're getting older and you're running out of time, you're teaching all the youth, you start to worry and think about the future generation, how you don't want to leave this mess to them. You want them to be able to grow up being in your age where they're not having to fight for their identity, fighting for their culture, fighting for the name, keeping the name alive. So we try to get a lot of these goals and plans and history and everything done for our future generations without having them to worry. So worrying about the youth, yeah.
So I see that you're also a author of the book Red Road, which is Traditional Voices of Afro-Indigenous America. Can you give us some details about the book and why you chose to write the book?
There's so much cultural appropriation nowadays. I just think people should hear it straight from the horse's mouth and get the true exact facts. You might have one question that might lead to 8 other questions, and that book kind of gives you bits and pieces from A through Z with a mixture of American Indian and African American, spiritual, non-spiritual. There's even some stories in there of information that they could read besides not just being taught or learning or answering the questions, but knowing some of the true facts and true life stories in there as well.
Okay, and so the goal of this book is just to kind of shed light on your day-to-day life as a Afro-Indigenous person?
Yes and no. So it's got a mixture of just me personally, community, things that I have seen, communities, and they're tribal. So, yeah. Many people who have read it say they couldn't put the book down. They try to read it one day or one night, had to stay up late, and I'm already being asked if there's going to be a part 2 and if I'm going to continue on with some other book and pieces of chapters. So.
Okay. And how can people help support your fight of being recognized by the federal government?
Bringing awareness where if you're just writing letters and just sending them to Washington, D.C., to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, all that information's online. Address, office, names, federal recognition, the president, the vice president, Deb Haaland, all of them. Just Congress, any judges out there, just even in here, politicians in Connecticut. We know so many people who just keep writing letters, and writing letters. That's it. Talking about us. When you're sitting down and you're talking with your friends and your family, they'll take that information and they'll talk to someone, and then that person. So it keeps going and going. So bring in awareness. And we have friends. We call them friends of Golden Hill. We won't only just say like they're supporters, because you develop a friendship over time. So we're always happy to have that support and friendship with people.
Okay, and how can people follow you and get in contact with you?
And I'm sorry, I don't mean like with people, I mean like with everyone. I don't want no one to get offensive over that.
Okay. How can people follow you and get in contact with you?
Facebook is a public like page, the Golden Hill Paugussett Indian Reservation. My personal page is Sharan Wapatuque Piper. And then my other Facebook page is Wapatuque's Collections 1916. Instagram, White Fawn 1916. And Wapatuque's Collections 1916. Okay,
there you have it. I would like to thank you for taking time out your busy schedule to come onto this platform and tell us about your tribe, the Golden Hill Tribe. I learned so much today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Of course, anytime.
All right, thank you so much.
And thank you, everybody.